Okay, so today in the wonderful, warm, sunny Glasgow, I'm going to teach you the different skateboarding stances that exist. This video is going to be useful for beginners and people getting back into skateboarding alike, or even if you just forget from time to time, because the terminology can get a bit confusing depending on your natural stance and direction of travel and all that good stuff. So I'm going to cover the 5 main stances in today's video, and then I'm going to cover some more kind of exotic stances or exotic ways to land on your board in another video. But today we're just going to cover the 5 basic ones, which is regular, goofy, switch, nollie and fakie. So I'm going to start off easy, and I'm going to start off with my natural stance, which is regular. So if you're regular, you'll want to start with the left foot at the front of the board and the right foot at the back of the board. And it looks like this, just standing stationary on the board. And when you're moving, it will look like this. The next stance I'm going to cover is goofy, which is basically the inverse of regular. So if you're goofy, you'll stand on the board with your right foot at the front and your left foot at the back like this. When you're riding goofy, it will look like this. So now that we've covered the 2 natural stances of riding, which is regular and goofy, I'm now going to cover switch, which is your natural stance but inverted. What that basically means is that if you are a regular skater, your switch stance is goofy, and if you're a goofy skater, your switch stance is regular. So as a regular skater with my left foot at the front and my right foot at the back, if I was skating switch, I would be on the board like this, which is essentially goofy stance. However, if I'm naturally a goofy skater, then my switch stance would be regular, like so. And if I'm being honest, when I was starting to learn about skateboarding terminology when I started, that was the one that kind of threw me through a loop the most. But you just got to kind of keep in mind that switch is basically the opposite stance from what you're most naturally comfortable with. And so it's a very subjective term, but once you understand that key fact, everything becomes a lot simpler to explain when you're doing flip tricks or different trick combinations. So now we're going to move on to the last 2, and these have a lot to do with your direction of travel. And so the direction of travel and the where your feet are placed on the board are both important for these last 2 stances, which is nollie and fakie. Now, for simplicity's sake, I'm going to show you nollie and fakie stances for both regular and goofy skaters. But just know that there's not really a switch nollie or a switch fakie stance. Those 2 terms really aren't used together because it just gets way more complicated when you think about it in that kind of mindset. And realistically, a switch nollie or a switch fakie, it just isn't a thing. And so when we refer to nollie and fakie, we usually just refer to like goofy nollie or regular nollie, or goofy fakie or regular fakie if you want to get really super technical about it. But most people will understand what you mean when you say nollie or fakie for your own natural stance. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to show you what nollie and fakie look like in both. I'm going to start by showing you nollie in regular stance. So if I am skating nollie with regular stance, all that really changes is where my feet are placed on the board. So instead of my foot being placed kind of below in the pocket of the back of the board, it's placed more above the bolts, and my front foot here is placed in the pocket of the nose, and that's to prepare for nollie tricks or nollie reverts or all that kind of stuff. And so a simple nollie stance would look like this if you're riding regular. If you're a goofy skater, it's basically the opposite. So a nollie stance for a goofy skater would look like this. Still with the back foot below these bolts here, or above these bolts I should say, and my front foot on the nose of the board to prepare for nollie tricks. Now, like I said, the direction of travel does matter for this type of trick, because if you're heading forward in that stance, then it's called nollie. So it's very important that if you're traveling that way, in this stance, that's nollie. And I'm going to show you what that looks like right now in regular and in goofy. So this is what a nollie stance in regular will look like. So now I'm going to show you what nollie looks like when you're riding in goofy. And last but by no means least, we have the fakie stance. So a fakie stance is in essence just riding backwards in your natural stance, and so it's the same kind of process no matter if you're regular or if you're goofy. So I'm going to start off by showing you regular fakie stance. And now I'm going to show you fakie stance when riding in goofy. And that was a quick breakdown of regular, goofy, switch, fakie and nollie. But do keep in mind that fakie and nollie are directional dependent, and it depends what natural stance you are, how you ride fakie and how you ride nollie. I hope that helps you understand skateboarding lingo a little bit better and kind of understand what people are talking about when they're down the skate park talking about nollie, fakie, switch, regular, goofy and all that kind of good stuff. Now in my next video when I'm covering stances, I'm going to be covering things like the crossfoot stance, 1 foot stances, all that kind of good stuff that's more to do with how you land a trick rather than how you push. But there's still kind of stances that are relevant, and so that's kind of what the next video will be covering, more kind of like niche or lesser known stances. But those are the 5 kind of main ones that pretty much every skater should know. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like if you want, subscribe if you want, and skate what you want. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace. Improvise, adapt, overcome.